Former New York City Police Commissioner and Trump ally Bernard Kerik is cooperating with the special counsel's probe into efforts to overturn the 2020 presidential election results. According to his lawyer, Kerik, who worked with Rudy Giuliani to uncover voter fraud, has already turned over thousands of documents. CBS News chief election campaign correspondent Robert Costa is in Washington following the very latest for us. Nice to see you, Robert. First, I want to know, do we know what information could be in those documents that Bernie Kerik turned over to the special counsel's office, and why do they want to talk to him next month?
It's good to be with you. Bernie Kerik, the former commissioner of the New York City Police Department, is a longtime ally of former New York Mayor Rudy Giuliani. And in this November to January period of 2020, 2021, he was at the right hand of Giuliani again and again as Giuliani pushed this false claim that the 2020 election was rigged. And they tried to talk to different people in various states about efforts to uncover alleged fraud, which was never substantiated across the board as anything that would change the election. And Kerik has a real prism into what Trump was doing behind the scenes with Giuliani, what Giuliani's intent was with a lot of these meetings with state legislatures. So it's understandable he would be contacted by the special counsel as a potential key witness about Giuliani's efforts.
Some of Trump's GOP rivals are clearly speaking out against the former president. I want to play you some of that sound.
We cannot allow Donald Trump to be the Republican nominee again. We simply can't. And the reason we can't is not only because he'll lose to Joe Biden, although that's the first reason, but the second reason is he let us down.
While his words were reckless, based on what I know, I'm not yet convinced that they were criminal. I'd rather that these issues and the judgment about his conduct on January 6th be left to the American people.
So there's clearly a difference in tone there, Robert. Chris Christie has perhaps been the most outspoken. Why do you think we're seeing so many of these other candidates a bit more apprehensive when it comes to the criticism of Trump?
Because they know that many Trump voters or longtime Trump supporters across the country have not yet broken with the Republican frontrunner. They're still standing with him politically and even as he faces these legal challenges. So there's a hesitation to start having some kind of judgment on Trump as he faces action in court, and he could be possibly indicted on January 6th on a federal level, might be indicted in Georgia in the coming weeks for pressuring election officials in that state. That's an allegation that's been investigated for a long time now. And many Republicans are looking at this race and wondering maybe Trump could implode. The challenge they all have is Trump may not show up for that first Republican primary debate in Milwaukee in August. And if he does not show up, where is their opportunity for contrast? How are they going to get momentum? And there's a lot of apprehension right now inside of the Republican Party in the non-Trump wing, in the sense that even Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, with all of the money he has raised, his high profile, has struggled to generate any momentum, to get any traction in this race. And there's a thought among other camps that if DeSantis can't do it, how can they do it? And there's a bit of desperation at this moment about the political stakes they all face in the coming weeks.
Yeah, sounds like a lot of those candidates treading lightly. Trump is also attending a campaign fundraising event in New Orleans today. On Friday, he'll be speaking at the Republican Party of Iowa's Lincoln Dinner. What do his latest campaign efforts suggest?
It suggests that he needs to show up in Iowa. He's not taking it for granted because he recognizes, and his advisors have told me this privately, that Iowa, of all the contests, it's the first, and it's the one where someone could get a bounce early in the nominating race. For example, if someone who's conservative, popular with religious conservative voters, starts to win Iowa, maybe they start to get some attention in New Hampshire and then further down the line in South Carolina and other states. So for the Trump campaign, stopping any rival in Iowa with a big win is going to be very important early next year.
All right, Bob, thank you for that analysis.